Welcome everybody. Thank you very much, Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj ji. It is 9:30 p.m. in Fiji, and we have no words to thank you enough, Maharaj ji, that at 9:30 p.m. in the night you have agreed to kindly talk to us, and we feel so much privileged. We are thankful to each of the participants for being present and making their Sunday available. Sunday is a rest day, but in spite of that, almost every Sunday you keep attending our lectures. Thank you very much. And also, we would like to inform you next Sunday we have another lecture that is by Deepak Maharaj ji, Swami Chidekanandaji, who is the production editor of Advaita Ashram, Kolkata. He will speak on Sri Ramakrishna and the practical application to the growth mindset. As long as I live, so long as I learn. Actually, Sri Ramakrishna's concept of education. Today, we are very, very lucky to have Swami Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj, who will speak on spiritual practice in modern times. Very, very important and practical topic, which he will relate to nowadays. What are the difficulties and how we can manage to concentrate on spirituality. And for the information of the participants and for Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj ji, we will let me inform that we started this structured lecture series in the wake of the pandemic to give mental confidence, mental peace, and mental sustenance to all our devotees, and so that they can face the difficulties in a bold manner. So this is the 41st session, and it has been possible only because of the cooperation and the help of the renowned monks of the Ramakrishna order and our encouragement of the participants who have been with us all through, and monks from all over the world from Ramakrishna order have spoken to us, and we hope that this continues. With these words, I would request our spiritual advisor and our minister in charge, Swami Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj, to kindly speak a few words. Mic is yours, Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Nirmal. My most devoted pranams to most revered Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj. My devoted pranams. Thank you very much for kindly accepting our request to speak. We are deeply honored by your presence here. I also welcome on the behalf of Ramakrishna Vedanta Society of Philippines all the devotees who have joined today. So today, without much ado, I think it is better if Maharaj takes the mic and start talking. Thank you very much, Maharaj, once again. Please, the mic is yours now. Thank you, Maharaj.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः यथाग्रे दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हिया सर्वविद्या स्वरूपां तां शारदां प्रणमाम्यहम् नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरये सच्चित् सुख स्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. My dear and respected Swami Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj, dear devotees, Namaste to all of you. In Fiji we say Jai Bhagwan. Jai Bhagwan, Namaste to everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, and really nice to know that so many spiritual seekers are interested in leading a true, authentic spiritual life. You see, Sri Ramakrishna has come in this modern age to awaken this spiritual drive in everyone. Every human being, he says, the goal of human life is to know the self, is to know the spirit, is to know the Atman. So this is the highest goal of mankind, and this is the greatest gift of India. If we have to truly ask ourselves, what's India's greatest contribution to the world today? It is this great knowledge of the spirit. Who am I? India has answered that question, who am I? Even the scientists today are still working on consciousness, God particle. All these things are being still speculative. And in India, we have experienced sages from immemorial times. They have experienced this great spiritual knowledge, this great, the spirit, the Atman, and they have passed it on from generation to generation. And in this modern age, we find Sri Ramakrishna, who is the prophet of this modern age, and the guru of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda has clearly stated that he is the incarnation of God. So leave it down. It's not so easy to understand Sri Ramakrishna as the incarnation, but we all know that he is a great mystic of this modern age, and he is the one who trained Swami Vivekananda and made him experience the highest spiritual knowledge, the highest spiritual experience, the transcendental experience, the superconscious experience. And this is what Swami Vivekananda has wanted to share with the world. This was Swamiji's vision. He said that I will not cease working till every human being knows that he is one with God, he is one with the divine, he is the spirit. This Swamiji said, Vivekananda said, that even if I pass away, if this body, I cast away this body, still my voice will continue, my spirit will continue to inspire mankind. And this is what we are seeing today, that there are many people interested in leading spiritual life, but spiritual life is very often misunderstood. We find here also, spiritual life is, people are not very clear. They mix it up with religious life, with rituals, going to temples, worshipping God, and we're offering different offerings to God, chanting the scriptures, reading from the scriptures, then chanting the Hanuman Chalisa and Vishnu Sahasranam. These are a lot of religious practices or rituals, we can say. They can help us in spiritual life, but our spiritual life cannot be authentic, will not be authentic unless we have a clear concept of what spirit is. Spirit is something we need to understand, and this is what the Upanishads have been telling us time and again. The Upanishads, they have explained what the spirit is, what the Atman is. Now, let us be clear. The Atman, the soul, the human soul, the Atman, the spirit, it's all one and the same. Vivekananda Swami has defined that religion as its manifestation of divinity in us, which already is there. So this divinity is our real self. This divinity is what we need to know. This is what is spiritual life. Knowing this divinity is spiritual life. And that clarity is necessary, because without having a clear understanding of what spirit is, it's very difficult to carry on authentically. We'll just do mechanically. We'll be leading a religious life. We'll try to struggle to gain spiritual experience or to gain spiritual knowledge, but without the clarity. Today, what is the problem is, our concepts are not clear. For everything, we need clear concepts. You see, even if we have to work with computers, if we have to work with software, we need to have the clear concept of how it functions. So, spiritual life also, we need to have a clear concept what are the dynamics of spiritual life, how we can be authentic. So the understanding of the spirit. Once I was discussing, having a group discussion with a group of youth when I was in Cochin, and I asked someone, "Can you tell me what's a spirit?" And I was shocked to hear he meant spirit as alcohol. Alcohol is also called spirit. And we find people, when they take alcohol, they get inebriated. And someone jokes saying, "Oh, he's gone spiritual with the spirit." But Sri Ramakrishna, he used to be inebriated with that transcendental experience. He used to go into that transcendental experience and he used to lose all consciousness. And he would then start staggering, his steps would stagger. He couldn't walk properly, he couldn't understand, he couldn't cognize. So he would be in a different world altogether. But that is the real spiritual experience, the transcendental experience. Now, yoga is very often misunderstood. By yoga, people think it's yogasana, exercise, physical exercise. But yoga really means actually union of the soul and the higher soul, the Jivatma, the Paramatma, the individual soul and the absolute soul. Now these terms will maybe a bit confusing because we don't have the basics of our terminology clear. That's why we are told to study Vedanta Sara. When we start studying Vedanta, before that, we are told to study Vedanta Sara. Vedanta Sara, the gist of Vedanta, or the Tattva Bodha. There's a very nice translation of Tattva Bodha by Swami Sunirmalananda, who's the head of Holland Center. The name of the book is Insights into Vedanta, Tattva Bodha. So there he clearly explains what is the spirit. So the spirit is something which is not physical, which is not mental. We have to understand that we have got three levels of existence in us: the physical, the mental, the subtle, and the causal. So this causal body, this causal existence, that is our existence. That is the real existence. That is our real self. The causal self. That is the spirit. The body is gross. This physical body is a gross body. It's made of elements, atoms and molecules. It is made up of the 5 elements: the akash, the sky, the ether, space, water, fire, air. So all these elements are what combine to make the physical body, and even the mind. The mind is also physical. So this physical body and the mind, they are not the spirit. That is different from the spirit. The spirit is something which is not physical, which is not mental. So this we can understand when we, in our deep sleep, we pass through these 3 stages every day: the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state, Sushupti. So Jagrata, Sapna, and Sushupti. The waking state, we are all aware of it. Even the dream state, we are all aware of it. But the deep sleep, we don't know. We are not aware of anything when we are in deep sleep. At that time, the mind gets indrawn and it is closest to the spirit, to ourself. So this state of deep sleep, that is the state where we are close to the spirit, and the mind is very indrawn. And we see the light in our dreams. Where does that light come from? Do we question ourselves? Do we really ask ourselves, how do I see that light when I am completely in darkness? I am completely enveloped in darkness. There is no light outside. My eyes are open and I see the dreams so lively, so vividly. Where is that light? That light is the light of the spirit. So this openness, they always talk about this Satyam, the Jnana Manantam Brahma. Brahma, they talk about Brahma. Brahman is nothing but the spirit. The spirit is Brahman. That's why we need to study the Upanishads. Swami Vivekananda says, go back to the Upanishads and then you will know the real self, you will really feel strong. Strength will manifest in you. That will make you stronger. When we know our true nature, we immediately lose all fear. All fear vanishes, and we get the fearlessness from the knowledge of ourself. So even if we have not got a direct perception, the direct experience, the intellectual concept is very important. Unless we are able to have a clear intellectual concept about what the spirit is, our spiritual life will not be very fast, will not be authentic, will not be easy. It will be always, there will be doubts. So this clarifying what the spirit is, that is what is important first. So when we talk about leading a spiritual life in these modern times, the concept of the spirit should be clear. The spirit is not physical, it's not mental, it's beyond that. It is that which is existence, which is Sat, which is truth, absolute, which is Sat, Chit, Ananda. It is explained, described in the Upanishad as Sat, Chit, Ananda. It is truth, it exists. It has got its own existence. Its existence doesn't depend on something else. It is self-existent. For example, we see, we eat food, and the food is cooked food. For example, you have a burger. The burger is cooked. How is it cooked? It's cooked with fire. The bread is baked because of the fire. The burger is also it's cooked because of the fire. The potatoes are cooked because of the fire. The fire gives the heat. And when you want to eat it, we heat it up. We heat it up in the microwave, we heat it in the oven, or we heat it in the pan. So wherever it is, fire is important. And fire has got the heat in it. So heat is intrinsic in fire. The heat, fire doesn't have to depend on anything or anybody else for the heat. It's intrinsic in it. So, but when the fire is taken out below any pot, the pot starts cooling. If you're boiling something, if you're cooking something, as soon as you switch off the fire, it starts cooling. The heat comes from the fire. So similarly, the self, the Atman, the spirit, it is self-existent. It is all-knowing, and it is all blissful. Sat Chit Ananda. This is what we need to clearly understand. When we say I am not the body, I am not the mind, what am I? I am the spirit. What is the spirit? The spirit is something which is not physical, which is not mental, and it is that which is actually animating the system which I am using. This system, this body and mind, has got its animation from the spirit. The spirit is my true nature, and this is what I need to understand, I need to realize. When I am able to realize the spirit, that will be self-realization. That is Atma Sakshakar, or knowledge of the self, experience of the self. When we talk about spiritual experience, it is this experience of the self. So this is what we need to really understand. For that, we need three things. First thing is the right intellectual concept. Yeah, right knowledge, the intellectual concept. For that reason, we need to study the scriptures. If you are not able to study the scriptures, at least you should be able to listen to the scriptures. So the Vedic tradition was Shrotavyam. It has to be heard about. Mantavyam and Nididhyasitavyam. We have to hear about it, we have to think about it, and we have to meditate on it. When we do that, then we will get the knowledge, we will get the experience. So this intellectual concept of the spirit, that has to be very clear, and that can be clear only when we study the scriptures or we hear about it. This is the reason we need to have discussions. And nowadays, in this modern, ultra-modern age, we find the study of the scriptures or the discussions of the scriptures is lacking in society. I find that even in Fiji, people are more into rituals. They go to the temple, they'll offer the incense sticks, they'll offer the lamps, they'll offer other things, everything. But you ask them, what is the spirit? What do you mean by Hinduism or Vedanta? They are not clear. They just talk about some practices. So practices are based actually on the realities, on the principles. So the principles we need to understand. For that is this discussion. All this forum is to discuss and to understand and move ahead. So the knowledge of the spirit, the Upanishads say that the Atman is absolute, is existence, knowledge, and bliss. It is truth absolute, it is knowledge absolute, and it is bliss absolute. So now comes the question about if truth absolute, is there some other truth? Of course, yes. We have got three kinds of truths. We have got the absolute truth, that is the spirit, the Atman, the all-pervading reality, that is the absolute truth. And we have got the relative truth. Relative truth is now what we are experiencing. This is relative truth. Now, the time in Fiji is past 9:30, late 9:50, and in the Philippines, it's somewhere around 6. So you see, the time we say is relative. It depends on place. It depends on the latitude. Depends on the longitude. So the everything is relative. What we experience is relative. And so this is also true. If you say that time is 6 o'clock, and if I say now it's 10 o'clock, both are true. But what can I? It's not absolute truth. It is called relative truth. So this time we can understand how it is relative. Similarly, the temperatures, everything is relative. Everything is related to something. It's not absolute. So it is relative truth. What we are experiencing is relative truth. And there's another thing called what we experience, but it is not true at all. Illusion. Illusionary truth. Illusionary. It's illusion. Brahma. It's called Brahma. So this hallucination a person experiences, but it's not true. When we see some rope in darkness and we feel it's a snake, we see a snake, we experience a snake, but when we go close, we find it's not a snake, it's just a rope. So that was experienced. It was a direct experience. We felt it was true. We felt that the snake was true. But when we went close, no, it was a rope. So that illusion was broken. Illusion. So for the time being, we felt it was true. So that is illusionary. It's illusion. That is also true at a particular state of mind, in certain circumstances. It is true. So this illusion is true. Relative truth we find is true, but absolute truth is something beyond all this, which is unchanging. So the spirit is that absolute truth, which is unchanging. The body will change. You see, from birth till old age, how the body is changing. From the infant, small baby, just born baby, 1 day baby, the first day birthday baby, first year birthday, second year birthday, how we find a growth, how we find the intellect growing, the mind growing, the body growing, everything is growing, and then the youth comes, and then the old age comes, but it's the same person. We don't see that the personality is a different person. No, the person is the same, but the body is changing. The mind is changing. So this body and mind, they are constantly changing. They are not absolute truth. They are relative. They are related to a particular place, to a particular time period. And after that, that time, that body will disappear. It will again get disintegrated. We say death. So what is death? So this is another great mystery. Everyone thinks about what happens after death. What is death? But it's nothing, just leaving this body. The spirit leaves the body. The spirit is me. The spirit leaves the body, and when it leaves the body, it doesn't leave the mind behind. It carries the mind. The mind is there, so it's called subtle body. So the subtle body is actually the spirit plus the mind. And the gross body is the spirit, mind, and physical body. So this is the gross, the mental, and the subtle, and the causal. The mental is the subtle, the gross is the physical, and the causal is the spirit, that which is animating both these, the mind and this body. So at death, what happens is this spirit leaves this body with the mind. And then in that mind, the entire data, the backup of this life and the past also is there. And then it takes up another physical body. This again is born as a new body. It's not, the spirit is not born, but the body is born, a new body is born, and the spirit is what? Embodied. So the spirit is deathless, it is birthless. When it is birthless, it is deathless. So that is what we need to understand. The spirit is not physical, it's not mental, it's something which is beyond that, which is animating us, that is consciousness. The consciousness that is pervading in this body, which is making our body live, which is making our body, keeps the body alive, that is the spirit. So unless we have this concept clear of what the spirit is, how am I going to think about it? How am I going to have the witness attitude, whatever spiritual practices you talk about? How can I have that unless I know, or at least mentally, I understand what the spirit is? So unless I understand what the spirit is, I cannot lead an authentic spiritual life. I'll be doing some, following some rituals, I'll be doing some prayers, but I will be ignorant about my true nature. The real experience, the direct the spiritual experience, when you get, there is the transcendental experience, that will give the direct knowledge, the authentic knowledge. But before that, the intellectual concept must be clear. And this is what we need to do through these forums. We have to make this concept of the spirit very clear, that it is not this physical nor mental, it is that consciousness which is animating this physical and making this body be alive. So this is that life force. That life force, what we talk about, is that spirit. So when a person dies, we find so many people during COVID. Today, you see our great, very loved, beloved Lata Mangeshkar. She passed away. She had COVID and pneumonia. She was in the Breach Candy Hospital in Mumbai, and for the last month, and today she passed away. You see what a great melody she has left behind, what a great legacy she has left behind, what a great life. But all that was her, what is left her is the spirit. The spirit that was Lata Mangeshkar, that mind that has gone with the spirit. The body is what is left, that will be cremated according to the our state with the we have India is in 2 days mourning, and with due state honor she will be cremated. So that is the body, but the spirit has left. How do you say that today she passed away? Because the doctors have pronounced that there is no sign of life. There are no life functions going on. What has happened? The spirit has left the body, and this is there. And that is why we always, many people have this fear of the unknown, the fear of death. What will happen? Some faiths, they tell you, don't worry, God will save you because you have accepted God. But now parapsychology has done a lot of experiments and they have proved that there is life after this life. There was life before this life. The spirit is deathless, it is birthless, it is passing from one body to another body. This spirit is continuing until and unless the mind gets illumination. Unless the mind gets that illumination, this coming and going, this of the body will not stop. The spirit will be it's eternally free, it is eternally pure, it is absolute truth. So this, but our Sukshma Sharir, the body that is coming is and going, that will cease when we understand the spirit, experience the spirit, that when the mind attains illumination, that is what is called spiritual experience. So, when once one attains spiritual illumination, there will be no more coming and going. The Jivatma is free, the spirit is free, the coming and going of this self, the lower self, the mind that is embodied, that will cease. So, this continuous coming and going is of the Panchabhutas, of the elements of the body, the Sukshma body, the subtle body. The subtle body is actually carried by the causal body, that is the spirit. So, when we are able to attain illumination, then the subtle body will disintegrate. And then you will have that is mukti. That's called mukti, or it is called freedom, salvation, what we call it. Till then, we are coming and going. So, this is the reason to attain that freedom, we need to understand what is the spirit and how I should lead my spiritual life. So, Sri Ramakrishna, he has lived the entire spiritual life of India. Swami has said, this great man, he has lived the entire spiritual life of the Indian nation. And we find in India, from ancient India, the Upanishads, everywhere, they talk about this illumination, this transcendental experience, the samadhi. Samadhi or transcendental experience is what? Nothing but the experience of the spirit, the experience of the self. So, the physical body we all know, the mind we know, and the spirit is that consciousness that is animating this mind and body. This is what we need to understand. And when we understand that, then we should be able to tell ourselves, identify ourselves with that spirit. We must be able to tell ourselves that I am the spirit, which is not this body nor the mind. I am the spirit beyond that. And this is what, when we do slowly, through regular practice, one day we will understand that in reality it will become an experience. This is what is spiritual, the goal of spiritual life. So, Sri Ramakrishna has given a very simple, practical way of day-to-day spiritual living. See, we have got this body-mind complex. This body-mind complex is often mostly engaged in our, again, physical needs, fulfilling our physical and entertainment, physical and mental needs. See, physical needs us our food, clothing, shelter. And then there's no limit to that food, clothing, shelter. It goes so it goes on. So it has to be proper in our day-to-day modern spiritual life. We need to have the proper attitude. So we should be able to restrict ourselves somewhere. We should be able to tell us that no, this is enough. We find now, many people are fed up of working. So they have taken VRs, voluntary retirement schemes they have opted for, or they have just given up this office work or their regular businesses and gone to some resorts or to some farmhouses and living a life close to nature. All that is okay, but unless and until we lead our life for the spirit, it will not be spiritual life. It will be only physical existence. This living is existence, physical existence is going to end at one time. And what we are going to carry with us is the impressions that we collect in this life. So the impressions must be spiritual impressions. Let us try to struggle or strive to understand this spiritual life, that what I need to attain to get fulfillment. If I have to attain fulfillment in life, then it will be only through spiritual life, to knowing the spirit. Sri Ramakrishna says that you may attain everything, you may get everything in the world, but still you will not feel fulfilled, because the knowledge of the self, the experience of the self alone will enable you to attain true fulfillment. All of us, human race, is trying to attain fulfillment. Whether we are into art or we are into creativity, everything we try to do to attain fulfillment. And this fulfillment can come only when we get the knowledge of the spirit, the knowledge of the self. Sri Ramakrishna says again and again in the Gospel you will find, the goal of human life is to know the self and to know or to know God, to know God, to know the self, or to know the spirit is one and the same. So God is the spirit, our self is the spirit, divinity is the spirit. So whatever Swamiji says, Vivekananda says, that the goal is to manifest this divinity within us through work or through knowledge or through devotion or through the psychic control, to the Raja Yoga, through Jnana Yoga, through Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So these four yogas, as I told you, yoga doesn't mean yoga asana. Many people, they want to learn yoga, but it's only physical asanas. They never go beyond that. Because if you see Patanjali's scheme of yoga, it starts from this yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. Samadhi is the final goal of end point of yoga. Samadhi is a transcendental experience again. And what is this transcendental experience? Experience of the spirit. So, what is the body, what is the mind, and what is the spirit? When these three things are clear, we will be able to truly understand and meditate, concentrate, focus on the spirit. When I say I am the spirit, I am spirit. Constantly, that is the mantra that Swami Vivekananda has given us. He has said, whenever you feel weak, yourself Atman. This is a great mantra that Swami has given, that always come out of that dream, come out of that dream state, that I am this body and I am this small mind and so and so. Think of yourself as the Atman, know that you are the Atman, the imperishable Atman, the indestructible Atman. When you know that I am the Atman, all weaknesses will vanish, all your problems will vanish, everything will vanish, and only the positive attitude of strength, of fearlessness and peace will be there. So this we need to clearly understand. See, these four yogas given by Swami Vivekananda, they are for the modern age, because we can't do those ancient penances of mortifying the flesh, of so much of sacrifice, fastings, and taking up pilgrimages and yatras, standing in water and bathing in cold water in winter and sitting for long hours. So all these self-mortification or hardships we can't endure now. We, in this modern age, we need to have a comfortable life, we need to have comforts. But the attitude of the mind, the concept of the mind, that has to be clear. So, this in this modern age, Swamiji has given us a great message of this Seva Yoga, Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is this path of word, action. We can't, all of us are busy. All of us have got our regular schedules, and we cannot live without work also. Most of the people are workaholics. Now you find people are addicted to mobiles and other things, social media, that's an addiction. But that's not a regular thing. But a regular thing is all of us need to work. In Fiji also everyone works. Everyone, they don't retire at the age of 65. Up to 66, 67, they're working. Even beyond that, those who have got businesses, those are doctors, they keep on working. There's no retirement. So here, the retirement people think, oh, how am I going to retire while my pay package will be stopped? So they are all worried. So everyone has to work. And you don't find people with any time left. But in that, we need to find out some time for ourselves, for spiritual life, for our thinking, to think about ourselves. So this is me time. Me time is not my mobile time. We want to know very often nowadays many people say it's me time. What's me time? It's not the workout time. It's not my food time. It's not my entertainment time. Me time should be for me, for the spirit. Now, who's the me? Who am I? Who am I? I am the spirit. So, this me time, we need to find out a little. Even if we can find out 5-10 minutes, that's enough to find out that me time and tell ourselves, remind ourselves that I am the Atman. I am the Atman. I am not this body, I am not this mind. I am the spirit, I am the self, I am consciousness. I am animating this body, I am animating this mind. So, objectifying the body, objectifying the mind, and subjectifying the spirit, identifying ourselves with the spirit. This is we need to tell ourselves. As Swami Vivekananda says, you tell yourself you're the Atman. You're the Atman, I'm the Atman, I'm the Atman. You go on repeating that, it will have its effect. You see, when you see advertisements, they tell you this brand, this brand, this brand, it goes on hammering and it gets in. And we get into it. So we need to understand this, that by telling us the truth, reminding us about the truth, that I am the Atman, I am the spirit. So this is me time. This me time is very important nowadays. We have now, because of this COVID crisis, everyone has got a lot of time and they don't know what to do. So social media is there. Now people, they say that COVID lockdown, but the real lockdown will be when the internet is vanishes. If the internet goes, then there'll be a lockdown. Now it's only a physical lockdown, not the mental lockdown. The mind is very well occupied and we are well connected. So we don't need also, nobody needs now physical contact. Even a mother has to tell her son something, sends a message, not in a phone. Just a message. Children, they look at the messages. They don't even care who's calling them. So it's the time that we have got now, plenty of time, but we are busy on the social media, we are busy with other things. But let us find that me time to know, to remind ourselves that I am the spirit, that I am this Atman, and which is indestructible, which is consciousness, and that is animating the body and the mind. I am using the body, I am using the mind. So that me, that is the spirit. This me time we need to find out in this modern, our day-to-day life, because it's possible. We have all the time for our social media, for our WhatsApp, for our Viber, for our Twitter and everything. So like that, we need to keep some time for this, our spiritual life, for our spirit, for our me time, for the self. That's for the self. Even if you, before you go to sleep, if you try to remind yourself, I am the Atman, I am the Atman, I am the Atman. And even when you get up after your breakfast or before you start your work, you go on reminding yourself, I am the Atman, I am the Atman. That itself will give you that courage, that power from within. The power within will awaken. This awakening of the spirit is important. So when we take initiation, the Guru gives us the mantra, he gives us the meditation technique. So this is what it is actually awakening the spirit in us. So the spirit in us is, as Swami said, for each soul is potentially divine. The divinity is there in us, but it is potential. And this potency is different. The potency varies from person to person, from being to being. What do you mean? Even in the ant there is a divinity. But the manifestation of the divinity, the potency is very, very small. Whereas in the human being, the potency is very high. So we need to manifest that potency. We need to improve that potential. We need to understand and act on it, work on it. So through seva, it is possible. Because this Swamiji has given this karma yoga, we need to find some time for social community work. We need to find some time for others. When you are serving others, when you are selflessly, without any selfish interest, when you do some service, that service will always add to our spiritual life. That will be a good karma. It will add to our spiritual life that will automatically purify the mind. Now, the illumination of the mind, when we talk about illumination of the mind, without clarity of the mind, without purity of the mind, it's not possible. So, purity of the mind comes to our actions. So, our actions are what our words are, what our thoughts are. So, our thoughts, they manifest into actions. So if we take care of the thoughts, then the actions also will be right. And if we take care of the actions, then also the thoughts will change. So it's connected. They are the pivots. So when we do good service to others, then automatically we will be able to change our thought process and we will be able to get more interested in the spirit. See, being interested is important. Having the drive is important. So for spiritual life, to lead a spiritual life, it can't be just a mechanical life. It has to be authentic. We need to have the drive to truly do our spiritual practices or whatever we do, the me time for the spirit. Truly focus on it, concentrate on it. This power of concentration, this will come with the power of the mind, and the power of the mind will come with purity of the mind. Purity of the mind will come from purity of actions, and actions which are done without any self-interest, without absolutely unselfishly for the good of others. Those actions will purify our mind, and that is what is karma yoga, seva yoga. So finding out some time for others, that is important. Children nowadays, they don't have time for their parents. Parents had all the time for them. But now we need to understand, we need to put our matrix correct, we need to put our things right, because it's high time. Now, during this COVID, we understand the importance of human life. So many people are passing away because of COVID. People are devastated, heartbroken when they are losing their near and dear ones. You see, so when we do something for others, we will definitely have that power to withstand all the shocks that we get in life. These, I tell our students, we have got a college here, Swami Vivekananda College, and I tell our students that you better have your EQ high, not only IQ, but the emotion quotient also. The emotional quotient needs to be high also. People nowadays, we are more worried about the IQ, intellect quotient, the intelligence quotient. The intelligence quotient is not enough. We need to have EQ, because only with the EQ we'll be able to hold on to life. We'll be able to maintain our mental poise. I tell our students that if you are not able to improve your EQ, emotional quotient, then the breakup will give you a heartbreak. Very often, this is common here. They have a breakup and then they have a breakdown. So these breakups gives a breakdown because you don't have the mental power to withstand it. You don't have the emotional strength to withstand it. So you think the spiritual life is something a waste of time? No, it's something very true, very authentic. All our sages in modern times, Vivekananda said that when you turn to the Atman, you will be strong. You will lose all fear. So when he talks about that life, that strength is life and weakness is death, all that, it all comes from the Atman. So if you want to really enjoy life, you need to be very strong. And if you have to be very strong, then you need to have a strong EQ, emotional quotient, and that comes from going to the spirit. When you are, you may turn yourself to the spirit for some time also, at least, And at me time, know that I am the Atman. I am the Atman which is bereft of birth and death, bereft of happiness and sorrow. It's beyond that, beyond happiness. It's bliss. So this we need to understand that spirit, and then you will find by doing this seva for others, by doing any little service to others unselfishly, that's important, without any axe to grind, that's important. When you don't have any axe to grind and when you do it selflessly, then it becomes seva yoga. Yoga is again joining, it joins you to the spirit. It conjoins you, it connects you to the spirit. Then is again this, that's what Swami said, the strength of the Atman, feeling from the Atman, that's important. What we usually try to do is, we try to develop stoic strength. We go to the gym, we go to the different, for trekking and all that, to improve our physical endurance. That's stoic strength. But this, by thinking of the Atman, will improve your mental endurance, the mental strength, that will be improved. And then we have the second one is, that's why they say that you are giving your heart, your first love, make it your spirit. Let the spirit be your first love. If you make someone else, something else your first love, you are definitely going into a disastrous condition. You're going to one day lose that and you're going to suffer. So you must tell yourself, I'm not going to suffer because my first love is the spirit. And this spirit is actually same as God, divinity in me. And that same divinity is in everyone. So if we analyze why we love someone, it's only because of the spirit. Just imagine, can you love some dead person? Even the love of corpse, you can't. There was one neurosurgeon in Cochin when I was there. He's passed away now. A very highly super specialist, very intelligent neurosurgeon. And he was telling me that, you see, there was a very beautiful Punjabi girl studying in our college when we were doing our PG. She had come from somewhere, from Chandigarh or somewhere. Everyone was after that girl. Everyone has to admire, wanted to be with her. They always wanted to have her in the group, in the group, whether it's practicals or whatever. They always wanted to have her. Everyone was admiring. Oh, everyone would see, oh, how it would be like going on a date with her. They would have tried to compete with one another. Who would be able to influence her? So he was telling me, one fine day suddenly something happened. We don't know what happened. They said, but they found a dead hanging in a room. She committed suicide. And then when the body was brought down, the body they came to know after 2 days because nobody knew that this has happened. It's so horrible. None of us wanted to go close to her. And the professors, they had to do the postmortem. And those of the students who were put on that postmortem list, they all made some excuses and they came out. Nobody wanted to go close to her. You were saying, I was shocked. That is the time I understood there's something beyond the body. Neurosurgeon, just imagine. So he was telling me that this beautiful girl, after she passed away, the corpse, nobody wanted to go. So whatever beauty, I think we have lost connection.
You
can hear the Maharaj.
Oh.
Okay, fine. So whatever beauty, whatever connection we have with everyone is with the spirit. Without the spirit, there is no connection. So as soon as a person passes away, we dispose the body, whether it is buried or whether the body is cremated, the body is disposed. There is no connection with the body. So even if we are related, we are connected to anyone, we must understand the connection is with the spirit, is with the spirit that is embodied in that body. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, that's why I talk about Vedanta as the Upanishad. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad clearly says that the husband is dear to the wife, not because of the husband, but because of the spirit. The wife is dear to husband, not because of the wife, but because of the spirit. Without the spirit, what is the wife? Corpse. Without the spirit, what is the boyfriend? Corpse. So without the spirit, what is the girlfriend? Corpse. So we don't go beyond that level of physical and mental. And that is why we are not able to lead our spiritual life. The moment you understand this, that no, the spirit is beyond. I am beyond this body and mind. That is what the Upanishads talk. That is what Sri Ramakrishna says. That is what Swami Vivekananda says. That you are divine. This is a divinity in me. It is this divinity and the divine spirit using this body, just like I'm using my clothes. The moment my clothes are dirty or spoiled, I just discard them. I take another set. Similarly, the spirit is taking sets of body again and again. And when the mind attains illumination, the mind is again, that also disintegrates, and that is what we call mukti. So for me time, we need to have this me time every day, and we need to understand that this me time, I should think of who I am. I am the spirit, I am the spirit, I am the spirit. I am not a body, I am not a senses, I am not a mind. Constantly, by brainwashing yourself, you will be able to come out of this ignorance of the superstition, what is called the body. Sri Ramakrishna says, Swami Vivekananda says, Swami says, the body is the greatest superstition. And that's what we find in human souls. Once I was in K3, one of our center, and there was a very senior Swamiji, Swami Satyakamananda. He had sannyas in 1944. He was a disciple of Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj. So he, in this winter, severe winter in K3, the temperatures go down to -2, this frost, and we had to wear gloves. And in spite of the gloves, we used to have cracks, knuckles cracked, and blood oozing out. So here is also the same thing. I would say, Swamiji, you wear gloves, I'll put some cream. Saying, look, the body is the greatest superstition. I'm not attached to the body, I don't feel the pain, I don't feel the pleasure. I just want my mind to be fixed on God. So I've seen this, how one can be free from body consciousness. So that can happen only with that right attitude. So our attitude should be the attitude of the spirit. I am the spirit. This attitude, when that is there, then you will also develop the habit, new habits of looking at others also as a spirit. When you start looking at your mother, as your father, as your brother, as a spirit, then you will never, miss them. You will never mistreat them. You will never ever think negatively. You will always have that spontaneous love. That spontaneous love that you have for yourself, you will have to others when you see the spirit. So the spirit is common in everyone. Just like in the Gita it said, the Sutratma. The Sutratma is the thread. You see the garland. The thread is common to all the flowers. So like that, this is the Sutratma. So this me time is what is important. We need to have that time for us every day. In the morning, at least 5-10 minutes, and in the evening, and at night before we sleep, we should be able to tell ourselves that I am the spirit, I am the spirit, I am not this body, I am not this mind. And by doing some unselfish work, say service to others, without any axe to grind, without any selfishness, and by discussing about the spirit through the scriptures, you can read or you can discuss with anyone. We need to understand. So this is what is the problem today, is we do not read the scriptures, nor do we listen to the scriptures, and that is why this ignorance is what makes us vulnerable to so many other different ways of living. There are so many different ways of living. People talk about many things, but the thing is, our ignorance is what makes us vulnerable. If you know what is the Gita, you may not have read it, but at least you should know what the Gita is, what the Upanishads is, what the philosophy, Vedanta is. If you know that, you won't be able to be taken, for a ride by anyone. No one can tell you some cock and bull stories and take you for a ride. That, okay, don't worry, I'll save you, you'll be saved. No one can be saved without the knowledge of the spirit. So we need to understand this through the intellect, through our and manifest it through our work, and to our emotions also should be directed to that spirit. We should either be devoted to God as a spirit. When we look at God also, it should be as a spirit. Once we know that God is the spirit, He is the absolute spirit, He is the ultimate, and I am the spirit also, I am a part of that, then truly our spiritual life becomes authentic. So, if you don't think that you are part of God, how can you think of manifesting God in you? How can you think of realizing God? It's not possible. So, this is what is important in our spiritual life, to find out me time during all this COVID lockdowns, and so much of time we have, we don't know what to do. Just sit and think about, who am I? I am the spirit. I am not the body. I am not the mind. And by constantly brainwashing yourself, will be able to overcome, as Swami Vivekananda says, the moment you think you are the Atman, all your weaknesses will vanish and you will feel strong. I think I have taken a lot of time. We can have some questions and discuss. If anyone has to ask anything, please come up. And I thank Swami Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj and Mr. Nirmal Ganguly for organizing this and inviting me. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Namaste Maharaj Ji. Thank you very much. Pranam for your such enlightened and insightful talk. That is, we are the spirit and we should have me time. And even we should look at our relations, friends, everybody as spirit. So our pain of losing is less. And what a great concept you have given, that is, body is the superstition. So with that note, I would invite our friends to ask question. Please introduce yourself, kindly be precise, and then after you finish, you can mute yourself. Thank you very much. Aparna ji, do you have anything to ask?
Pranam Maharaj. I am calling from Pune. I don't have any question. Actually, I have one doubt when you said illuminate your mind. So I was thinking how to illuminate your mind, but later on you explained that through your work, meditation, and japa you can illuminate. Actually, you had to pure the mind. The terminology.
The purification of the mind. Yeah. Purification
Illuminate.
leads to illumination.
Oh, purification leads to
Yeah.
illumination.
So it's purgation, illumination, union. So purification, illumination, then you have the union or
The spirit.
the self-realization.
Self-realization. Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Aparna ji. And Hirane, do you have anything to ask?
Yes, Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, I have one confusion, Maharaj, and I have been trying to resolve this for quite some time. When you say that you have to remind all the time, you are not the mind, you are not the body, you are the spirit. Who are we reminding? Who is that I? Whom I am reminding?
That is
If I
again
am
the
reminding
reflection.
that you are not the body, who is that you? Quote unquote.
Now this spirit has now, see how the infinite has become finite. What is the jiva? The jiva, the individual soul, is nothing but the Shiva. There is nothing but the absolute spirit has become relative, embodied spirit. So the embodied spirit is what is the individual self. Now what is the individual self? See, Vedanta says that Jiva Brahmaiti Napara. Jiva Brahmaiti. So Jiva is Brahma itself, nothing different from that. But now what is the Jiva? It's the embodied spirit, the Jiva. We are reminding the mind. See, the mind working on the mind. Swami, you will see in the Rajoga, Swami Vivekananda talks about the mind made to work on the mind makes the man a god. The mind, this mind is divided into two parts. Our mind is divided into two parts. See, when you are meditating, you are told to visualize your Ishta Devata in your heart, right? Are you initiated? Those who are initiated will know.
Yes, Maharaj, I have
So now,
initiated from
yeah.
Bhadreshanandaji.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are told to look at the Ishta Devata sitting in the heart. Now, where is this heart? This is the spiritual heart, spiritual center. Spiritual center. How do you locate which is the locus of this spiritual center? Because I have had some questions from, I mean, very gross questions like concepts about my heart has got ventricle and auricle, and then which part, where to, the physical heart I talk about. Because if you see the pictures of Jesus Christ, very often they show a physical heart on one side and shoulder, So our spiritual concept, our center of consciousness, when we talk about our spiritual heart, it is from where this I. If you say I, where does I come from? The certain locus right in the center from which this I consciousness arises. I. Now this is the point where you are supposed to imagine that red lotus on which the Ishtadevata is sitting. Okay. Now the Ishtadevata is sitting in your heart, that is the spiritual heart, in the red lotus, facing the direction as you are facing. Okay. And now you are facing the Ishtadevata. Isn't it the way you are told to meditate?
Yes,
Now,
Maharaj.
who's seeing who? It's a confusing thing. Many people get confused. So it is actually the ego comes out. You're reminding the ego. The ego, when the mind gets purified, the ego also gets liquefied. So this ego is what is giving you this I consciousness, the individual consciousness, individuality. The individuality is what the ego, I consciousness. So when you are doing your meditation, you are looking at your Ishta Devata face to face. So actually your ego comes here. Half the mind, some portion of the mind comes out and gives a U-turn. Like in Shavasana, if you are told to look at yourself from outside, how do you look at yourself from outside? The mind comes out and the mind visualizes. Right? So with the mind, again, the consciousness is there. The I consciousness is there. So it is you seeing yourself. Your mind comes out and takes a U-turn and faces yourself. Like then it will be like you are looking at yourself, like when you look into the mirror, you see your own image. Now if the image becomes a real conscious entity, and your physical body, which is the real body, not the image, that is face to face. Now if the image starts visualizing the physical body, the real body, what will happen? The mind is working on the mind. You get my point?
So, Maharaj,
So it's the ego. The ego is being reminded that you are not this body. You are the spirit. Because I is ego. I consciousness. That's the individual. Now this individuality has to go. It has to break into the spirit. It has to be the small I, Kacha Ami. Sri Ramakrishna says Kacha Ami. Kacha Ami must go and the Pakka Ami must come. The real self. The real self, so the small self has to go and the real self. So the I consciousness, the ego, that is being reminded that I am not this body, I am not a mind. I am the spirit. So there's the ego, I self, ego self.
So, Maharaj, can I therefore say, I understood, Maharaj, that this individuality or ego, whatever, I am basically telling my mind, they are all sitting inside my mind, that I am telling my mind that you are not the body. So I am basically.
You are telling your mind, your mind only is telling your mind.
Yes, my mind
is the mind working on the mind.
Yes.
See, the mind is our instrument to do things. Sadhana is done by the mind. It is Manasa Vyapara. It is called in the Vedanta, it is called Manasa Vyapara. It is the mind. It is the whole geography of the mind. Thinking of the mind. There, the ego is there. So the Manas Ahankar is there. buddhi manasa, Shankaracharya Nirvana Shloka they classify mano buddhi ahankara chitta ninaham. So this manas, ahankar, buddhi, chitta is the mind stuff. So if you study Sankhya, then all these things will come in Sankhya Yoga. So the ego is what you are reminding that you should not identify the body and mind with the spirit. So the mind is working on the mind. The mind is broken. Ashmat and Yushmat. See, this is what is, that's why I say this our Ramakrishna Vivekananda literature is so authentic. Our upasana, we are so fortunate to have got this Diksha because I have studied different other sects also. Mahesh Yogi and all these Rajneesh, Pune, you have your Osho sect was there. So I have seen all those. And then when you study Brahma Sutras, there the first thing is the Ashmad and Yushmad, I and you. How this one has broken into two parts. Me and not me. I and the world, isn't it? Ashmad and Yushmad. How this is broken? Actually, it is not so. It is a dream like. It's unreal. It's all one. It's unreal. So, this same mind now has broken into two. The spirit is different and I am different. Now, this mind is again made to work on it. So, in the Upasana, you are supposed to be looking at Ishta Devata. So, what has come out from there is the ego has come out. Ego has come out and it has taken a U-turn. And it is looking at the physical body. The physical body is like the temple. And inside that, where your ego was, that ego has been taken out, there you are given that place to the Ishta Devata. To your Ishta Devata. Okay. And you are now focusing that Ishta Devata is the spirit. And you are now, the mind is focusing on that. So mind working on mind. And that was why when the mind becomes pure, through constant practices, suddenly you will find that just like when you strike a matchstick in a very dark room, suddenly all the darkness goes away. One click, and you get that insight that yes, I am that. The ego becomes completely.
Thank you, Maharaj ji.
Dissolved.
Thank you.
Beautifully explained, Maharaj ji. Thank you very much.
Maharaj ji, Vishwas Sahalkar ji, do you have anything to say or ask? You know Maharaj ji so well.
Yeah, he is joined from the US. He is also
Yeah.
Diksha from Swami Bhadreshanandaji.
Acha.
Pranam Maharaj, no questions.
Namaste, namaste.
So,
Maharaj, here Anil Sachdev from Varanasi, Maharaj. Pranam.
Acha, Anil, namaste. Yes,
Namaste, Maharaj. Pranam. And Maharaj, you are really very blessed to have this lecture today. The very complex subject like spirit, you have so simply and excellently explained and created an excellent zip file, in fact. An excellent zip file to explain and really nice, Maharaj. We are very proud of our old Paronthas in Kaladi, Maharaj.
Yes, Anil, I remember you very much. Anil used to be so active at Delhi Ashram, a very active volunteer, doing everything. And now he is serving in Varanasi. I'll also follow up, don't worry.
Pranam, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Maharaj ji, before we end this program, I have a small question. It is like this, that Brahman is beyond body-mind complex. But you said that when we die, when we leave our body, along with our mind, that is along with consciousness, the body also accompanies the consciousness.
No, the mind.
Yeah, okay.
The mind
Also. So, but isn't it that body-mind complex is not part of the Brahman?
The body and mind doesn't exist. When you talk about Vedanta, that doesn't exist.
Okay.
It is a myth. But as long as the ego, the individuality is there, this individuality is what is creating this self, jiva. Now this continues, goes on. See, just as the body is changing this from one phase to another phase, similarly, there's again another new body is taken up by the individual soul. The spirit is with the mind. The mind plus the spirit becomes a subtle body. So the subtle body takes up a new gross body. So what only the gross body is left behind. This physical body alone is left behind, but the mind goes with the soul, the spirit. The spirit is with the mind. Still it is embodied. That is the subtle body. And that is why the memory of this present life is continued in the next life. You see, it is the child prodigies. Now, parapsychology is doing a lot of research and they can find out that the previous life was there. And with the education and all that, it is absolutely now proved. So, we should be very clear body is pure spirit. Subtle body is spirit plus the mind. And the gross body is spirit, mind, and physical body. So only the physical body is left. That means only the physical body is left behind. The mind goes, and this mind and the spirit, the subtle body, again takes up a new physical body. Again gets embodied. And so when the illumination, only when the illumination takes place, the mind is place.
Okay.
And that is called.
So before illumination, mind is part of the subtle body. It it has all the it has all the database.
All the backdata is there. All the
it remembers everything.
All the backup is there.
Where I was born, what did I do, and all that.
Yes. But now if you hypnotize, we can bring out all your childhood memories, which you cannot remember now.
What a beautiful lecture, and so many takeaways and so many things to do churning and think over and reflect. And now I would request our friend Hiranya Mukhopadhyay to kindly give vote of thanks to Bhadreshanandaji Maharaj ji. It is already 10:48, that is about 11 p.m. in Fiji. So, he has kindly permitted us to give another 5 minutes of informal time. So, Hiranya may like to thank Maharaj ji and all participants. Thank you.
Maharaj, again Pranam, Maharaj. On behalf of all the devotees from Manila, from US, from India, from Delhi, our heartfelt Pranam, Maharaj, for this wonderful lecture. Maharaj, Pranam.
I also feel blessed that I am able to discuss and enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maharaj ji. I'll take this opportunity to once again remind our participants that next Sunday at 3:00 p.m. India time, 5:30 p.m. Philippine, Hong Kong, Singapore time, we'll have another lecture by Maharaj Chirekanandaji Maharaj, who is the production editor of Advaita Ashram, Kolkata, and Deepak Maharaj. He will be speaking on Sri Ramakrishna and the practical application of the growth mindset. As long as I live, so long as I learn. Sri Ramakrishna's concept of education. And thank you once again, Maharaj ji. We are highly indebted to you for your such Amrit Bani and such piece of advice and such instructive lecture. Now we will have 5 minutes of informal session. Before that, I will close the recording and come back. Please give me 30 seconds of silence.